Today, I have a special interview for you lined up. It is with the folks at SyncFab. They're doing work in the smart manufacturing and supply chain management space, and they've won a number of different awards from some really interesting companies as well as from some government entities. They have some interesting partnerships lined up. So I had a chance to speak with their founding team through actually one of the Slack groups I'm in. Got a chance to meet one of their new team members as well as get an introduction to their executive team. And they are in the process of preparing for a token distribution event, a token sale in about 3 weeks from the recording of this interview, 23 days from now at this point in time. And for full transparency, this interview was not a sponsored video. I was not compensated in any way. When the team reached out to me about SyncFab, I had a chance to research the project, and it was just interesting to me as a whole. I was kind of really interested in how companies right now are going outside of just the tradition, what you would consider the traditional kind of blockchain spaces and moving into something that is more, maybe a little bit more old school, like manufacturing. So that's a lot of what the questions I had were in regards to is, why does manufacturing need blockchain? How are you going to benefit the existing business that you have? And hopefully this can give you this interview, you'll enjoy it. It'll give you some insight as far as what companies are thinking about, how they are moving forward in the blockchain space, how they're looking to innovate. And also, if you are interested, open your eyes to a potential ICO in the future that you may or may not be interested in participating in. As far as that goes as well, this is an investment advice. If you would like to participate in this ICO or in any ICO, you definitely want to conduct your own research and make sure that you have kind of all your ducks in a row. So at this point in time, I'm going to pass it over to the interview. So enjoy that. If you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, I really hope you enjoy this, and let's kick it off.
Sure. So I'll start off. I'm Jeremy. I'm the CEO. I'm currently on the road in London. Just finished up the London Blockchain Live Conference, which was discussing the intersection of blockchain and GovTech, which is the sweet spot for SyncFab and our public-private partnership, working with the city of San Francisco and San Leandro and federal agencies. I'm Jeremy. Nice to meet you.
Appreciate that.
Hi, thank you, Jeremy. My name is Andy Tong, and I'm the co-founder and chief strategy officer of SyncFab. Jeremy and I started SyncFab together back in 2013. It was a conversation that we had when we were actually in Vietnam at Maya Cafe. I don't know if you remember back in Vietnam, but that's how we kind of started everything. We've been friends for over 10 years. We started way back when I was doing MMOABC.com. It was like a very popular online game portal that had millions of users every month. So my name is Andy, by the way. So
awesome. Thanks, Andy.
Margo, Dennis. How's it going? My name's Dennis. I am the CDO, so I handle all the design and front-end development for SyncFab. My background is actually industrial design and product development, but more so now than ever, kind of specialized in UI UX. I've been with SyncFab since 2013 as well.
Sweet.
Cool. Thanks, Dennis. Rob, thanks again for having us. We really appreciate it. This is a good opportunity to kind of just put the words out there, especially for us. My name is Victor. I'm VP of Products and Ops. So my responsibility is primarily product management, overseeing and managing development side, design side, making sure the product is going smoothly, working to determine the roadmap, future strategies for it. And then in addition, the operation side for customer success, customer support, and kind of working with the manufacturers and purchasers to make sure that they have a smooth experience within the platform.
Great. Well, I appreciate the introduction, everybody. So thank you for that. And I've obviously done quite a bit of research kind of going into the conversation, just so I can help people that are ending up watching this right now, so they can be as informed as possible on things moving forward. But maybe Jeremy, from your point of view, if you could explain SyncFab to anybody who's never heard of it before, what would be maybe your 60-second elevator pitch type of talk track as far as people who haven't heard of SyncFab before?
Yeah, sure. So the 15-second overview is SyncFab is essentially a manufacturing supply chain management tool which sources, procurement, tracks, and organizes regional precision parts production. So the regional is very important because we work in these public-private partnerships. And it's all about sustainability and inclusion in a very important part of the economy, which is manufacturing. So we very much support regional manufacturing, particularly by leveraging new technologies with the focus on advanced manufacturing.
Sure. Absolutely, and that definitely makes sense. And I think the one thing that's always interesting too, at least kind of looking at a lot of some of these companies that are moving now into the blockchain space, yourselves included, is some of the companies that are kind of popping out of thin air, and then companies like SyncFab that have been around for a number of years. So maybe could you talk a little bit about your existing company SyncFab and how you're moving into the blockchain space and going from how you're moving into the blockchain space, kind of why you're making that pivot or kind of making that strategic move as well. I'd be interested in hearing that, since you already do have an existing company, like you said, that's been around for a number of years at this point.
Yeah, so the around numbers, and it was initially inspired at the momentum behind the advancements in computer-aided design, computer-aided manufacturing, and making localized manufacturing competitive again, vis-a-vis kind of like the traditional old dirty industrial manufacturing, which was with a heavy emphasis on manual production and competitiveness there and in the manual cost. So as we worked towards what some refer to as the completion of a perfection of a Web 2.0 process, that there's a lot of conditions in terms of the discussions and the negotiations between the buyers and the manufacturers. And so where our production process is very much data driven, they call it SMART. And so a big part of our public-private partnership is the combination of smart manufacturing with smart cities. So these smart contracts, which are the underlying technology of the blockchain, are a perfect fit with our smart manufacturing approach. So whereas the media is reporting accurately now that the U.S. is positioned to return to be the #1 in the manufacturing space in the coming years, probably in the next 2 or 3 years or so, to overtake China once again. It's also widely acknowledged now that blockchain is here to stay. So we want to lead the charge in our industry, in our particular industry, which we're doing from our first days. So that we can influence the industry application to more closely emulate our core values of inclusion and sustainability.
Sure. And I'd be curious. I'm not sure, Jeremy, if you want to take that or anybody else, but as far as kind of the movement, I was reading the white paper, and I saw that from the development of your blockchain kind of oriented focus from the existing business, how is that going to is the focus for SyncFab overall going to move kind of exclusively more towards this blockchain space? You're going to kind of run both. Kind of run both strategies side by side concurrently, I guess. What's kind of the overall development? I know there was a specific roadmap that was kind of drawn out there, but I guess any thought process behind kind of how and when that kind of pivot or just overall movement to blockchain will happen?
Yeah, so
we see.
Oh, Jeremy.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to give the team a chance to respond too.
Thanks, boss.
Use that better internet connection.
Yeah, I'll take it. I mean, I think to sum it up, I mean, the overarching goal is really to promote the industry, promote parts production, right? And to get us to that point and actually promote this whole industrial manufacturing and bringing the business back into the country, is that as part of any business goal is we need to be able to produce parts a lot faster. And the current process right now is that it's very inefficient, right? It's unproductive. There's too many middlemen and brokers. So it's too many steps in between right now. And for us, really, the goal is to promote the industry and really bring the businesses back into the country. And to do that, blockchain will eventually solve the issue. And yes, in terms of business-wise for us, there's that process that needs to be kind of driven and managed along where we do need to hold its hand a little bit until, I mean, 1 year or so until we're able to test it, right? Test the use case and see how the customers, purchasers, and the manufacturer actually react to it. Mm-hmm. And from there, we'll be able to get a better idea of how this will actually work in real life and in real practice. But the overarching goal is to push everything towards the blockchain and make the whole parts production and parts procurement process decentralized.
Sure.
But if I could just add a little bit of detail there in terms of because you used the phrase pivot, Robbie, yeah. And so we don't see ourselves pivoting from our core industry.
Okay.
See it more with the implementation of the blockchain, with the addition of these the token system, which will serve as an added incentive for the traditional manufacturing industry to participate more in the new economy and to participate more directly in the implementation of these smart contracts.
Sure. And that kind of, I guess, kind of going to the point you had there. I mean, as far as things go, you have an ICO coming up by close to 3 weeks from now, maybe a little bit more than 3 weeks from now. There's at this point in time, a number of ICOs popping up on a consistent basis. One of the questions I would have too, from your perspective, is obviously you already have, like you mentioned, a solid business in place. You've been recognized by some pretty innovative companies like Amazon. I saw a press with the White House as well. You've gotten some great press for your core business. From a token perspective, what would you describe as the real utility behind your token? Why do you think that it is going to be adopted by the users, or what do you think is kind of what would you say would actually be the value proposition behind not just leveraging the blockchain for SyncFab, but for these potential token holders? I guess could you potentially describe that for me?
Yeah, the connection kind of cut in and out there for a second.
Sure.
Could you just repeat that last part of the question again?
Yeah, absolutely. And so really just kind of summarizing it from the perspective of the utility of the token. What would you describe the true utility of your token? Why do you believe that individuals in your industry will kind of end up utilizing the token in the long run? What would you say kind of is the benefit to actually utilizing the token when it comes to once the the platform is completed and rolled out and users are able to adopt it?
So one is from the angle of the size of the market itself. It represents such a significant part of the U.S. economy as well as the global economy is the manufacturing industry. And so to the extent that a lot of those transactions are operating off the blockchain, where the blockchain is built to accommodate for security of intellectual property and digital assets and the design of those hardware designs, as well as the conditions that go into the negotiations behind that, tracking real time the production progress of those job orders. The blockchain is much more efficient and much more in line with smart manufacturing. So to the extent that a standard is being built around those specific requirements of the buyers and the capabilities of the manufacturers, we've already done a lot to research those. And what we're hoping is that with the creation of this token, which incentivizes those factories that are not bidding on various orders because they're either too busy or they're not interested in the different types of requests that are being made by various either designers or engineering firms or the medium or smaller businesses, that with the added incentive of this token, it will create another incentive for them to take another look at these requests, while at the same time shifting their thinking and their focus to participate, to be more proactive in participating in this new technology and blockchain technology, as well as in this new economy that's powered by these tokens and this digital currency.
And from a user adoption perspective, kind of go to market wise, any thoughts as far as when you are looking at kind of spreading the adoption of your token, or just the SyncFab platform and company in general? What's kind of the go to market strategy to continue to grow within this smart manufacturing space, to kind of add more customers and to kind of spread the utility of this token? Any thought on the go-to-market strategy kind of coming into the next year to 2 years?
So with regards to the smart manufacturing space, the industry is in a cycle of extreme innovation at the moment, and the Bay Area is a hotbed of a lot of that innovation in terms of dollars being spent that are being poured into innovating hardware designs. And so the demand that calls on the production of precision parts that are going into those finalized products is extreme. And based on meetings that we've had with the leaders of some of these companies, some of the requests that they've made have been things like tracking production costs down to the atom, which is that's a very extreme request. We're still a ways from that, but that's the end goal of smart manufacturing. And so in order to do that, you need to gather as much data as possible behind these orders, and you need to be able to implement technologies like smart contracts in the blockchain. So the go-to-market strategy there is to continue to work with these innovating producers and manufacturers and buyers and designers to delve more deeply into that, and to continue to expand the network of available manufacturers, while at the same time, while we're expanding that network, it essentially becomes a magnet to the buyers. So we believe that a significant portion of that business development from the buyer standpoint, that natural value proposition is going to be there. And then with regards to the token, which is attached to this specific smart contract protocol, which is tailored specifically for buyers' requirements and manufacturers' capabilities, what we'll want to do is incorporate additional feedback and amendments, specialized amendments from some of the more traditional larger players in the industries, who will be natural partners to participate in that ecosystem. So we hope to draw them into the conversation as we go along, by virtue of being a first mover in this space.
Sure.
Just to add on that quickly, that we also have positioned ourselves in a unique situation where we do garner not only private partnerships, but public partnerships with these smart cities, as Jeremy mentioned before, which is definitely a part of our go-to-market strategy and how we kind of expand the idea of SyncFab and it utilizing the blockchain. It's something that cities find much value in terms of how do they bring more value to the manufacturing sector that exists in their local economies. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely kind of wrapped in our whole vision for the future.
Yeah, and to that point too, I guess geographically speaking, I know it seems like a couple of the partnerships are either in the Bay Area, California. Is that some of the target, or are there any other kind of areas in which maybe outside of the Bay Area that you're targeting from kind of getting public adoption within the platform as well?
So yeah, so there's also a federal partnership that we're part of. It's called the Clean Energy Smart Manufacturing Innovation. It's a fairly long acronym, but essentially, so that's part and parcel of being in these public-private partnerships, yeah, because there's several bodies involved. But fortunately, it allows us to partner directly with many of these larger traditional industrial manufacturers alongside the government. And there's 5 manufacturing hubs around the U.S. in key manufacturing spots that are geographically diverse. So one in New York, one in Texas, one in the Michigan, Detroit area. So we've got the Rust Belt covered, we've got the Northeast covered, we've got the Southwest covered, and then we've got the western part of the U.S. covered in California. Now, in addition to that, with the token issuance and the creation of this new ecosystem with the token, following industry best practices, our partner for that is a European-based entity, so that we can work on really internationalizing the use and the adoption of this token, so that we can garner in, we can include feedback of standards for globally. And to further that, at this conference in London, the GovTech Blockchain Live conference, I met with the chair of the Scientific Observations Unit for the European Parliament, specifically to begin discussing that, and she invited me to come and represent and be part of that working group discussion, as well as hosting them in the Bay Area when they come.
Gotcha. That's great news. And maybe one thing too, kind of going off that from the perspective of conferences and that type of like just overall business development, have you found that to be somewhat key in terms of just generating partnerships and opportunities for your company as a whole, and maybe for the utilization of the token in the future? Has that been a fairly effective measure of, or a fairly effective way to kind of continue to spread the strategy and the mission of SyncFab?
Well, certainly when we went to the Blockchain Live conference, I mean, there were many kindred spirits there in the intersection between blockchain and GovTech. But one thing that we found certainly is the very distinct nature of our business model versus other companies who have they're not overlapping with supply chain, they're not overlapping with manufacturing, but they're implementing smart contract in many very other meaningful ways. So certainly in terms of partnerships, we find a lot of interest. So it is helpful that way, as well as expanding the dialogue to include diverse interests and diverse business models, and also different ecosystems, as well as things like meeting these leaders in different markets, different regions, like the European Parliament.
Sure. And this question is maybe a little bit kind of outside the realm of what we've spoken about so far, but from a talent perspective, I know it's obviously a new space, and there's only so many people pretty much in the world right now that have legitimate smart contract development experience, and a lot of work developing in this. What's the kind of outlook been like for you so far, from whether it's been a hiring perspective or just kind of internal technical ability? How is the team shaped based upon the technology that you're working with and the kind of market that you're going after in the future?
So we're very fortunate to have been working this whole time with a team of very talented designers, programmers, experienced business people. And then in terms of the specific coding skill sets that are particular to blockchain coding and understanding the smart contract protocols, Solidity developers, we're also fortunate there to have access to a pool of talented coders that we've been speaking to for quite a while, and kind of brainstorming how we're going to attack the supply chain industry. So being in Silicon Valley certainly helps, although obviously the market is very competitive there. But as we expand our model, we're also looking at talent pools in different areas as well. But for the core mission, we believe that we're very well positioned to launch with a very strong not only just proof of concept, but that add-on of the blockchain on top of our existing product.
Gotcha.
And then Victor, maybe you'd like to say something about it too, if you like. But
no, that's good.
All right. Well,
awesome. And maybe as I'm kind of looking through some of these questions here too, as far as some of the kind of main things in my head that I really wanted to cover. I think one thing that I was really curious about, as far as what you think might be the biggest obstacle to success, or just like the biggest hindrance to success for SyncFab. What would you describe that as? And even if multiple people want to answer, I'd just be curious from the perspective. It's such a new and unique space in terms of what you're trying to do overall with smart contracts, integrating that with manufacturing, and then even just the kind of the cryptocurrency world itself is for the most part still in its infant stages. So I'd be curious to hear what you feel like would be the biggest obstacle right now you're facing to overall success within the marketplace.
Sure. I can answer that, or you guys can, one of you can answer it if you like.
We can take turn. If you want to go first.
Okay, that's a good approach as well. So, I think one of the obstacles, one of the obstacles we face is the industry that we're working in right now. It's kind of in a transition period between traditional to advanced, and it still relies heavily on the skill sets of many of the machine operators and very experienced manufacturers. So many of them are quite traditional in their approach. And so the adoption of these new technologies, takes some training and conditioning. That being said, a big portion of that workforce is going to be retiring in the not too distant future. And so the retraining of the new workforce that's coming in, it's going to leave a transition period. So we also view that as an opportunity to train that new entrant workforce on the adoption of these new technologies as we're building out, and taking their feedback at the same time to implement the new protocol for the smart contract. So it's something that we're aware of, that it is a real challenge in the industry, but we also see it as an opportunity.
Great. And that's something too, I mean, before anybody else comments, I kind of in my head, I was imagining, I mean, I work outside of just the YouTube channel in general. I work in the ERP space. I've been selling cloud software for 5 years or so. And actually, Victor, as far as when I was checking out your LinkedIn profile, so I used to work at SalesHood, and I think my company actually used to run SalesHood. So I've actually, I don't think they do any. I don't know if they do anymore or not, but I'd utilize the software they used to, with SalesHood there. So I mean, I've seen from a cloud perspective even the difficulty of just on-premise versus cloud adoption. So applying that to, I think, blockchain is maybe even more of probably a learning curve for a lot of people, especially in traditional industries. So appreciate the comments there.
I mean, just to put it simply, really quickly, it's like we just want to make manufacturing cool again, in some kind of easy way,
yeah.
Right? Get this newer generation excited about the cool technologies that are coming to manufacturing. It's not just tech companies anymore.
Mm-hmm.
There's this whole new generation of cool technology happening. So it's just getting people excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, today, what everybody's attention span, right? I mean, it's got to be quick, right? So quick transaction, quick payment. So this is a good way to pull in the new generation into this industry.
Well, here's the thing I want to add to. One of the current issues in the industry of blockchain is that transactions are slow. I mean, we all know that that's nothing new. And Ethereum is way faster than Bitcoin. It's not the fastest, but with the next 2 years coming up, you've seen announcements from the Ethereum group that they're going to be faster than Visa. So this definitely makes up for the transaction speed of orders, from designers and manufacturers. So we're looking at a big thing coming up. And you guys can all agree, blockchain is not going anywhere. It's a really good setup, and it's the future. Blockchain, augmented reality, VR. I mean, they're all converging together. So we're positioned in the right space in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it definitely makes sense. And I think too, even with the kind of the overall push, at least in the U.S., as far as bringing a lot of manufacturing back with the government environment. So I think from that perspective too, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out for your team there. Outside of maybe just for anybody considering doing research on SyncFab in general and looking at the next coming weeks and potentially participating in the ICO and things of that nature. I guess any just general comments as far as whether it's overall investment or just kind of what you would maybe tell anybody considering looking into just general kind of thought process as far as anybody looking into participating in the ICO, anything of that nature that you'd like to mention to people that might be considering that in the future. Would love to get your thoughts so you could pass that along to them as well.
Jeremy? Well, for me,
Yeah,
go ahead.
no, there was a little bit of delay, so I wasn't sure on the timing. But yeah, I mean, certainly they should read through the white paper. It's a very heavy document, so I can understand that that does take attention span, which we were just talking about a moment ago. But the website is pretty straightforward. We've had some press over the years that can be referenced, and I believe we have a client testimonial or two video on there. But to the extent that so we don't refer to them as investors in our case, because we're not dealing in type tokens. But to the extent that purchasers of our service, they understand the product design industry, the engineering industry, the hardware industry. If they think about the application of the capacity network that we're looking to build, that we have built and that we're growing, we're rolling out. I mean, we've managed to draw major players in the Bay Area, to our offices. And hopefully, they'll see the same value proposition there. And then with the added layer of blockchain technology on top of that, if they're just learning about blockchain technology and they want to learn more, I mean, hopefully that's something that they're already excited about. But if they can just think about the compatibility between the blockchain and the manufacturing supply chain, and really what the potential is there and the size of the market and how we're looking to make it more efficient, while at the same time help local economies and economic development. So really, depending on what their objectives are and what their incentives are, when buying access to this service.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess to add on, I mean, we're working with multiple law firms to ensure that everything is within regulations, and this is a successful launch for everybody involved. So in addition to that, they want to learn more, visit our website, blockchain.syncfab.com, or join the Telegram community, Reddit community, Bitcoin Talk, and we'll be doing regular updates and announcements in terms of changes that's coming up or any big dates, big announcements.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's good to hear too. And I mean, from my point as well, I mean, in my point of view, and even just a general point of view, as far as just kind of seeing the marketplace, and obviously there's kind of been, there's been good and bad in terms of ICOs in the past, but working with, like you said, multiple law firms, making sure regulatory compliance is there, things of that nature, just active communication with the community. I think all those things kind of lend to long-term success. So kind of hearing about those plans up front is always good and beneficial for anybody that would participate in in your community in the long run. So that's fantastic. As far as questions go, I think that mostly covers really what I wanted to what I wanted to discuss today. So I really do appreciate your time. I hope if there is, maybe, I guess, if I'll kind of end things with, is there anything that perhaps I didn't cover that you would like to add into the conversation at this point in time, or anything you'd like to lead off with at this point?
Well, I'd like to say something about blockchain in general. It's just I think the world was amazed just at the changes that the Web 2.0 brought with the Uber model. Just when after the beautiful design and flow of the internet, how it was able to materialize in real life for them. They just touched something on their phone and a car showed up. So with the implications that we're looking at now with this dynamic blockchain, more integrated in what they call, the native web applications, and what the implications of that are going to be in the manufacturing space as well as in the broader space. I mean, it's mind-blowing. And so, our team is just really inspired, by this, and that's why we're working so hard right now, and we're working on the energy and excitement behind this, and we really want to share that with everybody in the manufacturing industry, in the supply chain industry, with your audience, and just with the the blockchain revolutionaries themselves.
Sure.
Yeah, that's it, man.
I couldn't put it better.
You did a great job, Bob.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate everybody's time. The comments I think are going to be really useful for anybody looking to learn more about SyncFab and looking to kind of just get educated on the space, and specifically to from a manufacturing perspective, the potential applications of SyncFab and in the future your token there as well. So excited to see how things pan out. Best of luck to you and your team kind of moving forward here, and anything as far as a community perspective goes. Anything that you kind of want to pass along to the community, to kind of my community moving forward, happy to do that as well. So thank you guys so much for the time today and kind of your thoughts and input as far as your company and the overall blockchain space in general.
Awesome.
Thank you, Rob.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rob. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Well,